Welcome to another episode of Everything Python. This is part 2 of the How to Get Better at Debugging series. Last time we looked at a public GitHub repository, we looked at code, and we tried to look at an issue that was already filed and how we can debug it by going through the code itself. But this time we're going to talk about how to get better at debugging using your own code, how to set yourself up for success in debugging. And that is primarily via logging. You might know it better as writing print statements. Initially, you might have written print statements for a lot of your code to understand what is happening within the code. And while that's a perfectly fine way of logging, there are plenty more ways to log better. And we're going to looking at one or two of those examples today. But first, let's see what happens if you don't write proper logging statements or if you don't set yourself up for, like proper debugging, right? And here in my example, what I've done is I've set up a small Flask server using fast WSGI. It's a library that enables you to set up a Flask server pretty fast. And this application does something very simple. All it does is accept a number and it will give you the nth Fibonacci number. That's all I've done. Here we have two functions. The first function is the getting of the nth Fibonacci number, which does the logic of returning it. And the other function is the route or the method that will accept the get or post call, and it will process the call and it will return a number or whatever it is, right? So we'll see how to run this first. How you would run it is first you create a virtual environment. If you want to know how to create a virtual environment, you can refer to one of the previous videos. I'll link to that in the description. And once you've done that, you can install the requirements for this environment. All the requirements are there in the requirements.txt file. If you look at the requirements themselves, there are only a couple of them: Jinja, Loguru, Flask, Fast WSGI, Click. Some of them are derivatives of other packages. So you just have to install Flask, Fast WSGI, and Loguru. Now that we have our requirements in place, how you would run this program is simply by using Python debugging badly, because this is the first program that I'm going to show you, and the front end of this is there in the templates folder. I'll show you that in a bit. So here the server is listening at this particular URL, but you want to go to 127.0.0.1.5000. All right. So as I told you, it is just accepting the the value of n, and it will give you the nth Fibonacci number. For example, if I give you the value 10, it will give me the 10th Fibonacci number is 55. Similarly, if I enter the number as 5, the 5th Fibonacci number is 5 in the series 1, 1, 2, 3, 5. Right? And if you say 9, it will probably give you 34. 11 is 89. Now, all of these are happy paths, right? And if you see in the console, there is no message that is being printed here. I don't know what will happen if I give a value like, I don't know, A, this internal server error, right? I don't know what happened here. The traceback just said invalid literal for int. It just threw an error that I did not engineer, right? This is the traceback that is coming from the Flask service. How do I get back to a previous state? I don't know. So this is all very, very, like trial and error-ish that the user has to do. And let's say if the user gives a negative number, what happens then? This has gone into an infinite loop. And here, I don't know, my service is absolutely stuck, right? So I'll have to do something like this and I have to come back here. My service is still stuck. Maybe I'll kill it. I'll kill the process. I'll go to htop and I will kill my process forcibly, right? F9 sick kill. This is killed, but this was all very, very, crude, right? If you wanted to make it better, you would write a more cleaner service. And this is why logging, this is where logging comes into the picture. Now in my logging endeavor, right, I could have used any number of logging packages, right, from Python's default logging package all the way up to log format or structured logs or struct logs. All of those packages are there. So here what I've used is a package called loguru, Loguru, right? And here what I've done is I've added a few logging messages. I've made the end calls, as in like edge cases, very obvious. Here if I say if n greater than 15, it is not supported. If n is less than or equal to 0, I raise an exception. And when the exception is raised, it tells you this is not going to work. And in the middle, I also print a small logging, a debug message, right? So all of this will help you find out what is happening in your code a little bit better, and what will happen, more importantly, what will happen if something goes wrong. Let's run this and see what happens. Debugging better. Now I'll refresh this. Probably want to create a fresh instance of this. Let's say 11, right? So 11th Fibonacci number is 89. And here now there is a message that is printed, right? So initially I think the previous error message was accepted because the cached input for the previous call had probably been taken. But if I say 11, Fibonacci method successful for 11. Let's try out a different number, say 9. Ninth Fibonacci number is 34, 14th is 377, 18th is not supported, right? So it's so very clean. And if I give a negative number, this will just say none. And in the background, I get an error message that is very structured. It says this isn't going to work, number can't be negative, right? So you know exactly what is going to happen. And that is all by doing a little bit of extra work, setting your edge cases, adding exceptions, all of those, right? So this is some best practices on how you can improve your code a little bit. And that is all for this video. If you want to know more about how you would like to log, please add a comment. If you want to understand more about Whiskey and Flask, leave a comment. I'll be making these in future videos as well. Uh, do subscribe if you like this video. I will be posting more videos on how to debug better and other topics as well. Thank you and have a nice day.